Hello and welcome to a new lesson, Origins of Language by George Yule. In this lesson, we will talk about sound of music as the source of the origin of language, divine source as the origin of language, sound of nature as the origin of language, natural sound by humans as the origin of language, physical adaptation source as the origin of language, tool making source, and genetic source as the origin of language. Let's discuss each one of them in brief. The first one is sound of music as the source of the origin of language. It is believed to be the first source of the origin of language. This theory was propagated by Charles Darwin. He believed that musical notes and rhythm charmed humans much before they expressed their mutual love and affection in articulate language. So this theory is propagated by Charles Darwin, and he believes that music is the first source of the origin of language because humans were charmed by musical notes and rhythms much before they began to speak the language. This is the idea in brief. Now we move on to the second stage, that is divine source as the origin of language. It is believed that God is the ultimate creator of language. This divine source of the origin of language is held by all the religions in the world, whether it is Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, and so on. So divine source of the origin of language believes in the fact that God is the creator of all things, and therefore he is also the creator of the language. He made humans speak. He is the only source. That's all, finish. This is the idea in brief. We continue our discussion and we move on to the third point, sound of nature as the source of the origin of language. What's that? The basic idea is that primitive words could have been imitations of the sounds of nature which early men and women heard around them. The natural sounds may refer to any flying objects or coo-coo sound of a bird or a splash of water and so on. Words that sound similar to the noises they describe are referred to as onomatopoeia. This is popularly known as wow-wow theory. So what this theory in brief is all about, that possibly humans could have been inspired to use language by the natural sounds of the flying objects, chirping of the birds, barking of dogs, and so on. This could have inspired them to use language because all other creatures, they are producing sounds, they are communicating in some way or the other. Possibly this could have been the inspiration for the humans to use language. That is the idea here. We continue and move on to the next stage of our discussion, that is natural sound produced by humans. What's that? This theory believes that when humans were involved in physical efforts of lifting or pushing heavy objects, they produced sounds in pain, groans, or curses. Such sounds produced naturally may be the source of the origin of language. This is commonly known as yo-he-ho theory. What this theory is all about is that possibly when humans lift some heavy objects or push some objects forward, they tend to make some sorts of sounds. Sometimes humans, when they are in pains or in groans, or sometimes they are angry, they curse someone, they produce sounds. Possibly such natural sounds, such natural circumstances in which humans produce sounds naturally could be the source of the origin of language. This is the idea here. We move on to the next. That is number 5, physical adaptation source. What is this? Let's talk about this theory. Believes that at some point of time during the course of human evolution, notable anatomical changes took place in humans' physical shape. That's okay. This process of evolution led to the development of human skull, limbs, and enhancement of human vocal tract, resulting into the creation of left hemisphere to handle complex tool-making sequences, which resulted into the source of originating language. So physical adaptation source of the origin of language is based on the theory of human evolution, that humans evolved into the shape of humans after a long gap of process. First, they began to walk on 2 feet, then they had the upright posture, human skull and limbs and all those things took proper shape, and this physical adaptation, what we call human evolution, might have resulted into the efficient stage of humans to use brain, to use language. That is the idea here. We continue to number 6, that is tool making source as the origin of language. What is that? It is believed that there is a natural connection between how humans used brains to control tools and how humans used brains to speak a language. Thus, tool using abilities of humans and language using abilities of humans harmonized simultaneously to let them speak the brain. So in brief, what this tool-making source as the origin of language is all about is that possibly humans first used their brains to use tools, and those techniques of using tools to make so many beautiful things, artistic things, might have led them to use brains to speak the language. That is the idea here. We continue and move on to the 7th and the last stage, that is genetic source of the origin of language. Was that genetic source seems to indicate that human offspring are born with a special capacity for language. It is innate, inborn, and intrinsic. No other creature seems to possess it. This theory suggests that at some point in human evolution, a crucial mutation, change in gene occurred. This wasn't just a change in the shape of the throat, what we call physical adaptation, but a change in the DNA that created a specialized language organ or language acquisition device in the brain, what we often refer to as innateness hypothesis. So this genetic source of the origin of language points to the fact that humans are genetically wired to use language. There is some sort of linguistic chip in the brain that helps humans, not any other creatures, to use the language, the ability to use the language. That is the point here. And to sum up the whole idea, to understand the whole idea in brief, have a look at this graphic pictures. Origins of language might have come from these sources. The first one is sound of music. And this theory was propagated by Charles Darwin, that this could be the first source of the origin of language. Likewise, number 2, divine source, in which God is in the center of the creation of language. The third one is sound of nature, that when the nature speaks around us in so many different ways, this might have been another source of the origin of language. Number 4, natural sound produced by humans. This also could have been one of the sources of the origin of language. Then we have physical adaptation source, which is based on the process of human evolution. This might be one of the sources of the origin of language. Then we have tool-making source. Humans' abilities to use tools might have inspired them to use brains to use language. And the last one is genetic source. Possibly at one point of time in human evolution, some sort of gene, there is a change in gene occurred, which resulted into language ability or linguistic chip. What we call innateness hypothesis might have resulted into the origin of language. So these are some of the theories of how language originated. Now the question is, which one of the theories of language is correct? It is up to you to look into the factual argument of what could be really the source of the origin of language. These are some of the hypotheses made by scholars to reach to the actual point of discussion, what might be really the cause of the source of the origin of language. But no one has comprehensively and unitedly agreed that there could be only one source which could be the origin of language. Hope you understand the concept. Thank you and goodbye.